Matt McElligott came to visit Pine Road School in October, and our 4th and 5th grade students had lots of questions for him. Matt McElligott is the author of such books as Benjamin Frankenstein Lives, Benjamin Frankenstein Meets the Fright Brothers, Benjamin Frankenstein Meets Thomas Edison, Backbeard and the Birthday Suit, Backbeard, Pirate for Hire, The Lion's Share, Bean 13, Even Monsters Need Haircuts, and Even Aliens Need Snacks.
Isabella. Yes. Is that a Spanish name or an Italian?
It's Portuguese.
Portuguese? I'm Portuguese. My mother's side of the family is Portuguese.
My dad's Portuguese.
High five. Awesome.
What's your favorite book out of the 3 Ben Frankenstein?
That's a hard one. I like the first one because it was the first one we did. And I like the third one because of the way it ends. But maybe the second one because I think maybe the second one had the best mix of everything in it. Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you gonna?
Do you have a question for me? What does your shirt say?
Mr. Know-it-all.
Are you Mr. Know-it-all? Then how come you have a question if you know it all? Ha-ha! Aha! I gotcha. But you have a question anyway, don't you? Okay.
Are you gonna include George Washington in your next book?
That's a good question. And you have a follow-up to that?
Yeah, the reason we ask is because George Washington did make a mill where horses trampled wheat.
Okay. So he was an inventor.
Yes.
So he could belong. Oh, that's interesting. We don't have plans for George Washington, although we have thought about George Washington Carver, the African-American inventor who did all those things with peanuts. But although George Washington isn't in the story, I think Ben does talk about him a couple times in the books. So he is kind of in there, even though he's not one of the inventors we bring back. And you have a different question, too.
Yes.
Because you don't know it all. Right? Okay. What's your question?
Who was your idol author when you were growing up?
Oh, boy, that's a tough question, because there were a lot of good authors out there. I loved so many different authors, but probably the author who I read more than any other author and still read is a man named Daniel Pinkwater. And I think he writes some of the funniest, most interesting, most exciting stories that I've ever read. And the really weird stories about weird, funny kids like I was when I was growing up. I think that's why I like him so much. But you guys aren't weird, funny kids, right?
Funny but not weird.
Funny but not weird. I was funny and weird. Mostly weird. Who are you? Joy? That's a great name. What's your question?
Did you like writing when you were younger?
I did. I liked writing a lot. Although I have to say that my favorite thing was drawing. Given the choice, I would always be drawing, and then sometimes I would make up stories that would go along with the pictures I drew. What do you like better, writing or drawing?
How many drafts did you do before you wrote you did your final copy of a picture book?
So how many drafts do I do when I'm working on a picture book? And what's your question?
How many drafts did you do before you made the final copy of Benjamin Frankenstein Meets the Fright Brothers?
Which is a longer book. How many drafts do I do before I do a middle grade book or a chapter book? And you know, the answer is kind of the same. Usually I'll do, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 20 different drafts. You know, the drafts are different for a longer book because I don't rewrite the entire book each time. Larry and I write it together. But I'll rewrite maybe a chapter or paragraphs or things like that. Sometimes with the picture books, because it has less words, I'll rewrite the entire story, sometimes 10 or 15 times. But there's a lot of rewriting. I probably spend the same amount of time, anywhere from 6 months to a year, rewriting and fixing the story sometimes, getting it just where it needs to be.
Because I really don't like doing drafts, and now I'm imagining how many drafts you do.
Well, I didn't used to like it either. It's because nobody wants to go back and find your mistakes. But what I find is when I do that, if I make myself do that, the stories come out so much better. And if I do something where I don't go back and I fix the mistakes, then later on I go back and look at it and I wish I had. So it's hard, but it's so worth it in the end. You're very shiny today. Your pants are shiny. You're shiny all over. You're the shiniest kid I've seen all day. You're welcome.
If you would like to learn more about Matt McElligott and his books, go to MatthewMcElligott.com. We'd like to thank Matt for coming to visit our school and sharing his time with us.